All right, so now we're going to go ahead and create a drawing from our design. So we can come up here, do drawing from design. We want full assembly, ISO standard, units millimeters. We're going to do A4 paper because that's a bit more common to find. Orientation is landscape. So it'll take a second to kind of populate it. Then we need to say what we want the base appearance to be. So I'm going to show from the right side. That's looking a little small. So I'm going to do 1 to 30. That looks okay. I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to want a projected view so we can also see the top down. So I'm going to come up here, click projected, and align it with the top figure. I say okay. I don't want to do kind of any other views for this one, so I'm just going to stop there. I can move this over a little bit and the lower one will follow. So this gives a view like if we were looking from the top, what we would see kind of projected along the bottom. You might have the 95th percentile male visible in yours. For this one, we're going to hide that for now. We're also going to come in and hide the bodies. Phrasing again. You can see now there's really nothing from the person, but most of the information that we wanted was in the sketches. So we can go ahead and make the sketches visible and bring in the reach limits as well as the kind of parts of the person. So that kind of shows us what we want. The information that we care about will be from dimensions. So we can come up here and dimension. Again, we could also just press D. So I'm going to hit D. We want the dimensions of the table. So I'm going to click on that line and bring it over. Click on this line, bring it down, and then also get the height. So that gives us those values. Some other things we probably care about are the reach distance. So you can select that point and the table edge. Down here you can have the max bimanual region, the overall reach distance, and then also one of the things we care about is what the single-handed reach distance is on the table itself. So we can mark all of those distances. Yeah, so that looks like a well-dimensioned design for here. In class, we'll have gone over kind of the do's and don'ts of dimensioning, but the AutoCAD software is pretty good about following those rules. Or Fusion. Here we can see kind of information about the design. We don't need to fill this out for our purposes, but right now we have kind of this sheet. We're going to rename this to F5 for 5th percentile female, and then we can come down here and create another sheet, name it M95 for 95th percentile male. And then go through the same process bringing in the design. So you can add the base view, add the projected view again, do the dimensioning, but this time hide the 5th percentile female and dimension the 95th percentile male. Again, once you're done, you can save your design. So this is kind of pulling in the name we used before to save. I'm going to do an underscore and then lowercase d to make it a drawing. I'm going to go ahead and save. And then now, instead of doing the export, or the kind of export to a F3D file, you can come up here and export to a PDF to save all the sheets. So that's how you do the drawings. And I think that will close. Oh, one more thing. One thing that can be useful is to have kind of the tool placement that you want. So in this case, we have the tote. So if we come back down here to our original design, one of the things we can do is we can drag in the tote that we created before. So again, make sure you have the top level selected, otherwise it's going to put it in whatever component is currently active. The initial position, we don't really care about that much, so I'm just going to say OK. But then we want it sitting on the table. So if we come up here to joint, we can select what components we would like to join. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And we want to connect this the bottom surface to the top of the table. The motion that we don't want it rigid. We want it planar. So this allows it to slide around some. Looks like that made it upside down. So if we come up here and we flip it, there we go. It's now on the top of the table. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And now we can kind of move this around the table. So if we wanted to move it into a position where, say, we wanted it within reach of both hands, we could set that. We could add in another joint if we wanted to make it in a fixed position. So kind of setting it from like the edge of the table at a certain point. All right, so now we want to save this. Added tote. Say OK. If we come back to our drawing, we're going to get a warning saying that it's no longer up to date with the other one. And there is a button in the application bar that we can click to fix that. So if we come back up here, we can click on that, update it to the newest version, and now we have the tote. So we can unsuppress that, and now we can see where the tote is in the drawing. So now if you wanted to dimension where that lives, you could do that. So that's another useful thing to note. So I'm going to go ahead and just hide the tote for now. You don't necessarily have to do that in the final submission, but it's something useful to know. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, because I think that is the last thing in this assignment.